All right, so we are putting together our Automata today. So we have our box. You've already glued it. I just taped mine so I don't waste the parts. I can give them to somebody else next year. But we have our Automata here. We've got all our parts here. We've got our axle. Okay, we've got our cams. We've got our hex nuts. I mean, you actually have a third hex nut. I don't have mine with me. You have your followers. And I just have a random other top just in case I need to show you. We have our straw. Okay. So now as you do this, usually I put the followers in first because once you put your axle in there, it kind of gets in the way. Okay, so on the followers, it really helps to put a hex nut on the bottom of the follower because it gives it some weight. So when when it's moving up and down here, that it will pull it down with the weight. Plus, this metal slides really well on this plastic. They slide, they don't bind. So two reasons to kind of put the hex nut. To get the hex nut on there, you just twist it like it's actually a screw because the wood's soft enough that it will start to make, you can kind of see, I don't know if it focuses, but you can kind of see I've already had this one on there. So just put the hex nuts on. Don't go too far, right? You don't need to go so far through that it sticks out the other end. You basically just want to stop. So it's kind of just in enough that it doesn't fall off. And then you put those, and you have your followers. Okay, and then we have to jam our axle through. Now you got to put your cams on as you're going. It really helps if you put your cams on first. Mine have been on a couple times, and so it's a little easier. When it's first on, it's kind of tough. You can kind of put it in the corner. You can use this so you can push down. But as you put it on, it kind of grinds down this and smooths out the wood a little bit, the little burrs off the wood and off the plastic, and then it's a little easier to move back and forth. Okay, put them on in the order that you need. You also have the snail cam. Use the ones that you needed, of course. Alright, we're going to feed those through, and then we just have to line them up so they end up under the followers, and sometimes it's not always easy. You just have to work on it. It all works. And then you should have another hex nut to put on this side. I don't know where I laid mine, so I'm just going to use a second binder clip to kind of lock in that side so it doesn't come back. And then I'm just trying to line these up so they're lined up right underneath the center of my follower. Okay? And then do the same with this one, and then you should have your one big binder clip that goes over on this side. That's going to be your handle so you can spin it around. Okay? So now we've got this. Now it works okay, but as you see, as it's going, it kind of works, but look, it binds up. And why it binds up is if you notice this thing here, look how much they move. See how much it moves in there? And that is what our straw is for. Okay? And this is what I was telling you. Sometimes it's hard to get the followers in and out, but we can kind of just move it over. So I'm going to take my follower out, and I'm going to take my straw. Now you just need a little bit of the straw, maybe about an inch or so. You can measure, and then you cut it lengthwise as well. Okay, when you cut it through here, now since I've cut it, we can kind of squish it together and make it smaller, right? And now it'll fit inside this hole in your box. And what that makes is like a little guide bushing. So when we put our follower in, it'll keep my follower. And it's kind of a tight fit. I'm doing this on purpose to show you that it's going to be a tight fit. Okay, now as I put it in there, you notice this thing doesn't really wiggle back and forth like it did. It will go straight up and down because that little kind of a bushing in there, the straw, will keep it going straight up and down. But as it does that, it's really tight. See how this one just falls down through? This one doesn't move anymore because it's so tight. Well, that's why we gave you some sandpaper. So as you're doing this, you're going to go and you just take your sandpaper and you knock off those edges and kind of round out your pole a little better so it'll slide up and down in that straw. So just sand a little bit. It doesn't take much. Sand a little and test it, and sand a little and test it until it works well. Now you got to be careful. Don't put your bushing down too far because it's got to be able to go up to the top. Right? See how this one, it wouldn't fit? I'll get this where you can see. It wouldn't fit. So I got to have that a little higher because this thing has to be able to go up and down. Okay? And then up on the top, make sure it's not too long that it runs into your toy. Okay, so adjust the size. It's just a straw. You can trim it as you go. Okay, so that's how to use the straw. Now, it might help to put a little bit of glue on the straw once you get it set and like you want it. Be careful not to get the glue on the follower because it has to move up and down. Okay, you really don't need glue on the cams. There's no pressure side to side. There's no force to push them. They can move side to side, but sometimes it's nice in case you have to dismantle in order to fix something. And that's really kind of all there is to it. Okay, once you get that going, you just have to put your toy on top, and then it just takes, with your toy on top, it's just going to take a little bit to get it so it moves. Right? See, this one's working pretty good even without the bushing. Hex, pretty good, but see it binds up now and then. Okay, but you can see he's moving up and down even without the bushing. So if you need them, use them. If you don't, don't. But see, it still moves quite a bit. So a little bushing is just going to help. Plus the straw is nice and slick. Just sand this down, and I think you're good to go. Once you get it on there, then you go ahead and glue your top on, and then everything's good.